The afternoon crash. I mean, for some people it could be at 11 a.m. For some people it's somewhere around 12, 2 p.m. Like most everybody in this world, I used to have these terrible crashes. You know what it feels like. No energy. You feel so tired. You just want to hit the bed, and you're in the middle of work, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a brain. Forget not a brain. I don't even have hands. I have nothing. It's just like you want to fall over and collapse. So, my father often says that his father would say, I need to make a call lapse. Anyway, so how do you deal with this? It's like you go through life and you're just constantly tired, especially you got that 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. or 1 p.m., each person exactly when it hits, that terrible afternoon crash. So here's something that I came across, which for me, thank God, has been unbelievably helpful, and I wanted to share it for anybody else who it may be helpful for. So there's this thing called glucose, which is basically, from what I understand, and I'm a layperson, so look it up yourself, but there's this thing called glucose, which is basically like sugar. So, and we think of things like cookie, cake, ice cream, candy, soft drinks, this stuff which is loaded with sugar, with added sugar, we think of that stuff as like, those are the real offenders. Those are the things that are loaded with glucose. But it's not only that. Something like bread, even healthy bread, whole wheat bread, spelt bread, etc., might be high on what's called the glycemic index. And again, I'm not an expert. These are terms that I don't fully understand what they mean, but I understand it enough to be able to try something for myself that worked. So, and that's what I'd like to tell you about. So what does it mean, glycemic index? So basically what I understood is that our body can draw fuel from different types of foods. So there's starchy, carbohydrate, sugary foods, which are all more or less one type of thing, which is glucose. And then there's, fatty, protein type of foods. So the carbohydrate / sugary foods would be anything from whole wheat bread, even if it's like, 7-grain whole wheat bread, to ice cream, which is basically eating sugar with some milk mixed in, whatever. And if it's non-dairy ice cream, so I guess you're just eating sugar with some water mixed in, whatever, maybe some silicone. I'm joking. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. So that's like all this sugary stuff. And then there's like the proteins, fats, things like legumes, peas and beans and lentils and chickpeas and etc. All those wonderful things. And then you've got, like, let's say chicken and meat and fish and things of that nature. That's like the proteins and the fats. And then, you've got vegetables, which are kind of neither. From what I understood, again, I don't know 100% if what I'm saying is perfectly accurate, but this is more or less what I've understood as a layperson, and most of us are lay people, so that's why I thought it might be helpful to hear this from someone who, as a non-doctor or non-dietitian, this is like what I understood, and I'm going to tell you what it is that I tried and what it did for me, which is unbelievable. So it works like this. When you stick, let's say, a piece of bread, and certainly if it's a cake or a cookie or something like that, into your gullet, right? And that goes down into your body. So that is very readily accessible energy, meaning it's really easy and quick for the body to turn that into glucose, which is like the fuel. If you imagine, let's say you put the gasoline in the car and then you step on the pedal. So what does that do? That makes the fuel inject into the part of the motor which needs to burn it. So it's very readily, easily accessible fuel. So my way of understanding it, my analogy is like, imagine you're in a car, okay, and you just suddenly go from nothing, you're just not pushing on the pedal at all, to slamming down on the pedal until the floor. So what happens? The engine goes vroom, vroom, vroom. It's like you're causing the engine to go into hyperactive mode very quickly, very intensely, as opposed to just pressing ever so gently on the pedal and very slowly but surely getting the fuel to where it needs to go, let the car take its time to pick up speed, etc. So obviously it's healthier for the engine the second way. When you do the first way, you are taxing the engine to its utmost. You are making it do something which in the long run is going to cause damage. So that is the concept of a glucose spike. When you eat something that has a lot of readily accessible sugary type of energy that is so super easy for the body to convert into energy and burn So then it's like slamming down on the pedal till the ground and causing the body's energy burning / usage system to go. So it's like you're just causing the body to just be terribly taxed and just way too intensely burning fuel, and that is a glucose spike, and the body gets wiped out. It's exhausting. The same way, sometimes if you've ever done that with your car, you could kind of feel that the engine, it's not quite the same. It kind of feels like it's not as smooth, it's not as powerful anymore, so it's exhausting. And the more you do it, the more exhausting to the system it can be. And from what I heard and read, it actually can have downstream, long-term negative effects. But just in terms of the crash that you experience, that unbelievable, exhausting tiredness that you feel, that might be a result of, obviously if you're not getting enough sleep, so it could just be that, you didn't sleep enough. But assuming that you're getting enough sleep, which, by the way, from what I've read, is minimum 7 hours a night, like minimum. I remember one time someone saying, I got a good solid 5 or 6 hours, and I'm like, no, that's not a good solid anything. It's better than 3 hours. It's better than nothing. But you got to get your sleep. Maybe I'll do a separate video, God willing, about sleep. So, but for now, I just want to focus on the glucose spike. So, assuming all else is equal, all else is good, you might be causing yourself to have that massive crash as a result of the fact that you started your day with, a croissant and a coffee, which has sugar in it, and you spiked the glucose in your body like mad. Okay, bottom line. So what can you do? So what have I personally been doing to try to make this better is, number one, never start the day with something high on the glycemic index. Like, try to start your day with something that has no sugar or starchiness, which means no bread, no crackers, certainly no cookies, no cakes, no coffee with sugar. Okay, so for example, what did I'm doing this in a little bit of an extreme way right now, because another thing that I saw on a different occasion is that you should try to have 30 different plant species that you're eating per day. Now, spices and teas count. So I get like 8 of them. I have this like little jar that I put together 8 different types of tea, and I make myself a tea from that every day. It's just a tiny little bit, but it has 8 different types. So that's 8 species right there. I got 8 different types. And then spices you could put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on what your stomach can take. Some people are able to take lots of spices. Some people can't take as many spices, but you could put in lettuce, celery, cucumber, tomato, carrot, right there. You've got 5. And then if you throw in some chickpeas and lentils, so now you're up to 7. By the way, one of the things that I like to do is put in a few small pieces of lemon. I find those to be incredible energy producers. But whatever, the main thing is that, have some type of a very filling salad. You could have lettuce, let's say something like lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes, carrots, chickpeas. If you want to stick some hummus and raw tahini in there, those are like superfoods, especially the raw tahini. Tahina, for those that know the word in Hebrew. So, you could put all those things in there, some spices and etc., olive oil, and you've got a very filling meal, and don't eat anything else, like at least for a couple hours. Wait until lunchtime. Now, another thing that I've been doing is that I don't eat first thing in the morning. And it's amazing, like I never realized I'm not hungry at 8 o'clock in the morning or even 9 o'clock in the morning. I usually only start, and only once I started doing this did I realize, why on earth have I been eating at 8 or 9 in the morning if I'm not hungry? If my body does not need any fuel, then why on earth am I stuffing fuel into it when it doesn't need it? It's like, if the gas tank is full, stop trying to pour more gas in there. It's just going to spill out. So I'm usually not eating until somewhere around 10:30 to 11. And my breakfast or brunch, whatever you want to call it, it looks something like chickpeas, lentils, beans, carrots, cucumbers, pickles, lemon, spices, hummus, tahini, olive oil. I also stick in some MCT oil, but whatever, that's something else, maybe a different time. So, but the point is, it's a very filling salad. The legumes, the chickpeas, the beans, the lentils, they all have protein. And if you put in some olive oil and tahini, and you could put in avocado, etc., That's also a very solid source of fats, supposedly healthy fats. Obviously, if you're trying to lose weight, you want to go easier on those things, heavier on the legumes and the vegetables, and, much lighter on the oils, etc. If you're trying to lose weight, I assume. But that's what I've been doing. And then I'll wait till somewhere around 2 p.m. And that's where I'll have, let's say, a bagel with cream cheese, or, some spelt pita bread with cheese and maybe some sauce as well. And I'm basically waiting until much later. Like the first thing in the day is like try to make it no glucose, like really low on the glycemic index, because those things, it's like pressing on the pedal gently. The body, it takes its time, slowly, gradually converting that into energy, and that is much easier on the system. And then wait for the glucose till later. Now, another thing that I try to do, and this is already a little bit gross, but I personally have found it to be incredibly helpful, and I'm kind of getting used to it. And when I say gross, I mean it just tastes bad. I don't mean like icky. I just mean it tastes bad. Is that apparently there is a compound, like a chemical, that helps your body to take up the glucose in a more measured, moderated way, and that is something called acetic acid. Please don't ask me what it is. I'm not, like I said, I'm a layperson. I just listened to other things and I read and whatever, and this is how I understood it. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get to what it has done for me. So acetic acid, apparently, and by the way, I looked up on Google Scholar. I found a study because someone said, yeah, that was like a fad, a few years ago, and it was debunked. There was a meta study, which means like they do a search for lots and lots and lots and lots of studies on this topic, and they see like what is the overall conclusion, what is the balance of the evidence teaching us from this meta-analysis. And it found that yes, definitely acetic acid does have a significant effect on how the body deals with glucose. So where can you get an easy punch of acetic acid? Vinegar. You take a tablespoon of vinegar, drop it into a cup of water, because it's not supposed to be good for your teeth to just take vinegar raw. Also, I've noticed that sometimes vinegar can cause people to choke, because it can cause the epiglottis or something to spasm. I don't know exactly what. So you take a tablespoon of vinegar, you dump it into a cup of water. I take a half a cup of water. Don't want to drink the whole thing, a whole cup of water with it. Whatever, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ounces of water. And you just down that before you have your glucose. So if it's your sandwich, and certainly if you're going to indulge in, like, let's say a piece of cake, ice cream, waffle, whatever, right? So you down that before, and the acetic acid will help your body to take the glucose in a more moderated way, and that's supposed to help. So, okay, that's basically what I've been doing, and the results have been dramatic. Now, maybe some people will say, oh, it's a placebo effect. I don't really care. If it is a placebo effect, give me that placebo all day long. By the way, there's research that placebo doesn't mean that it's a bluff. It's a real thing. Placebo effect is a real thing. Like I once read an article on Harvard's website for like medical news or something like that. Harvard, well, nowadays Harvard is considered less, but whatever. It used to be considered something, and it still is. I'm sure Harvard, at least many aspects of it, is still like top of the top, but whatever, let's try to ignore what's been happening with Harvard lately with the plagiarism and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so one of the things that they wrote over there is that there was, a study done, I forgot about what, like, natural thing, that it wasn't more effective than placebo, and they said, yeah, but there have been studies done that show that Tylenol is not more effective than placebo. So placebo is a real effect. That's what people don't realize. When something is found to not have more of an effect than a placebo effect, it doesn't mean that it has no effect. It means that it has the same effect as placebo effect, which is a real thing. But in any event, I just wanted to share with you that this has been unbelievable for me. I have had so much more energy. I have, even on days when I have not gotten proper sleep, and I'm kind of like tired all day, but I don't wind up having that crash. So if you are suffering with the daily, midday, or like early afternoon, whatever crash, I would strongly suggest try this. Like, try it and see if it works for you. Don't start off your day with like any glucose. Just start off with like vegetables, legumes, stuff like that, like I described before, and then wait, couple hours till lunch. And if you can stomach it, well, really, it's not stomach it, but if you can palate it, if you can manage to take it, try taking that tablespoon of vinegar and sticking it into your half cup or a full cup of water before you have your glucose, and see what happens. And please do let me know in the comments if this works for you, if you tried and it works for you. Thanks for listening.